who is also the chairman of the Board of Commissioners and the chairman of the Board of Elections. Commissioner, thank you so much for being with me.
Hey, John, thank you so much for having me on.
I've got to ask you right off the bat, because we just heard from Governor Wolf, the counties that are going to move from red to yellow. And in our region, you are one of the few counties, Lawrence County, moving
Yes.
to the yellow zone. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I'll tell you what, we actually got a call from the governor's office last week asking the commissioners as to whether or not we wanted to move into the yellow zone. And so the commissioners actually went back. We talked to every single one of our municipal elected officials in the city of Newcastle, in our boroughs, and in our townships. And across the board, everybody agreed that we're not seeing the case number that other areas like Beaver, like Allegheny, like Montgomery are seeing. And it's time that our people, start transitioning to be able to move back to work, So I think it's a good move. No one is out there saying, let's all jump back into the fray entirely, but we're moving towards sort of normal operations and obviously, in a safe and secure manner for all of our workers.
What is it that you hope that the folks in Lawrence County do in order such that you don't move back into the red zone? I mean, what is it that you want them to do, even though they may be allowed and free and no longer required to stay at home?
Yeah. So the big concern, obviously, is that people continue to go out and wear PPE, right? They need to be wearing masks. They need to be wearing, where possible, gloves. They need to be following CDC and DOH guidelines. The other big thing is that while the stay-at-home order will be lifted, there's still aggressive mitigation measures in place. So if you do not need to be outside of your home, you should still remain where you are. You should still stay at home and, to the extent possible, not interact with other individuals.
Do you have any concerns about that?
Not at this time. I think by and large, people in Lawrence County are taking this very seriously. I think we understand what's at stake here. And the other thing, at least at the commissioner level, and I know all the other municipal officials, our state reps, everybody is on the same page stressing, if we slip back, if we decide that, we're going to open these doors, that we're going to open the floodgates, if everybody goes out and congregates like we used to, we'll slip back into the red zone, and we don't want that. We want to make sure we're moving forward in a positive manner, that people are able to get back to work, but that we're also able to remain safe as a community.
Well, speaking of safety as a community, I want to ask you about Election Day. In-person voting in Lawrence County, you've got 75 polling places. Are all your polling places going to be open on Election Day?
Yes, that's the plan right now. I talked with our elections director earlier today. We haven't had a single poll worker call off as a result of COVID-19, which is reassuring to hear from him. On top of that, the only concern that I might have would be we do have polling centers at, for example, a couple churches. A couple community centers. I would be concerned if those places were to remain closed, but that would be the only driving force behind us, consolidating a precinct right now.
Let me ask you about PPE, Commissioner, because we've heard reports that it's been difficult, that we may not have enough protective wear, gloves and masks and the like for poll workers, and frankly, to protect the public as they come in and out to vote. What's your view of what's happening on that score?
So right now, the supply chain is a little bit constrained in terms of getting PPE, all the PPE that is needed across the state to the places that do need it. I will say, with regards to Lawrence County, I checked in with our public safety director. Right now, we have thousands of masks sitting up in our warehousing at our public safety building. We have hand sanitizer. In terms of the election places themselves, the Department of State is actually providing 65% of all precincts in Lawrence County with a kit that contains all the necessary PPE to make sure that our election workers are safe and to make sure that our voters are safe. So right now, from where we're sitting, while the supply chain is constrained, we do have the materials in Lawrence County to be able to supply those facilities.
So in other words, Commissioner, you have 65% of your precincts will be covered by what you're getting from the state, but you've been able to go outside and purchase some additional protective wear?
Yes, and that's a testament to our outstanding staff at our Department of Public Safety and our Department of Elections.
Are you encouraging people to vote by mail as opposed to showing up in person?
Yes, I would say if you're able and you want to vote by mail, it's safe, it's secure, you're able to do it. That being said, there are individuals, right? Lawrence County is a predominantly older community, right? There are individuals in our community who would much rather show up to the polls and actually vote in person, but that option will be there as well.
But would you prefer that folks vote by mail, or do you not care?
I think in any scenario, safety is of the utmost concern to us when we're thinking about how people vote, how people go and interact, how people go to the precincts. I would say, yeah, if you're able, vote by mail. That would be my recommendation. If you feel like you would be safer, if you have a concern, for your safety relating to going into a precinct, vote by mail. But our precincts will be stocked and ready to go to make sure that everybody that does decide to vote in person are as safe as humanly possible.
And final question, Commissioner, do you have any idea how many folks in Lawrence County are going to vote in the June 2nd primary?
I'll tell you what, I think we're seeing right now, our elections office is processing 10 times the amount of mail-in and absentee ballots than we've ever seen before in any election prior, keeping in mind this is the first year that the mail-in ballots apply. But I do think you're going to see a substantial turnout in both the Republican and the Democratic presidential primaries. I think people are excited for this election season. I think they're passionate about their candidates. And so I think you are going to see a higher turnout than you normally do.
Well, Lawrence County Commissioner Morgan Boyd, thank you so very much for taking time to be with me today. I much appreciate it.
Absolutely, John. Thanks for having me.
We have team coverage of all angles of Governor Wolf's plan to restart parts of Pennsylvania. We begin with Andy with a breakdown and more details on what the governor's announcement means. Andy.